Hi guys, welcome back. This is By the Book and we are your married relationship coaches. Before we get started with today's topic, please hit like, subscribe, share, and comment if you do have comments for us on today's subject matter. Today, babe.
What are we talking about
I want
today?
to talk about something. It's not funny. I shouldn't be laughing about it, but it's interesting, and it's a topic or a term that's used commonly today that I just want to talk about a little bit with you and get your opinion on some things. Okay. So anyway, ladies, gentlemen too, if you haven't been under a rock somewhere, you probably heard this term, pick me. Pick me. PICK-ME. Or, that's pretty much the term that I want to talk about today. I want to kind of venture off a little bit into side pieces too, but I want to stay on topic with pick me's. Babe, do you know what a pick me is? Have you heard of this?
I have.
Only from me?
Pretty much. So
okay.
Tell me and tell the people what pick me's are.
Okay, I think y'all probably already know, but just for me to give my basic definition of a pick me, it's a woman who is pretty much desperate to be in a relationship. And so she kind of throws herself out here to try to present herself as this ideal woman who doesn't have very much in the way of standards and is setting herself apart from so many women who do have standards or have things that they don't want to do or, whatever. So she's the type of woman who may say something like, hey, if I'm in love with my man, I don't mind getting down on one knee and proposing to him. What's wrong with that? Y'all ladies say y'all want to be progressive. What's wrong? It's equal opportunity. We can propose to them too. And then we're all like, what? Like, what are you doing? You're messing this. This isn't how any of this works. So you'll hear stuff like that. Or you'll see social media posts where they're talking about, who comes first in the household. Is it your husband or your child? And people have their ways and arguments for one way or another. And I'm not even here to judge what's in order and what's out of order. But you can best believe the pick me is going to jump in there and be like, my man is always going to come first before anybody. Ain't nothing that's going to stop. If it's only 2 pieces of chicken in the household, he can have both of them. And I'm not going to eat nothing. I'm just going to starve. Because she wants to prove herself so worthy to these men who may or may not be looking at her post so that she can get chose. I don't like that. That gets on my nerves. I don't know how y'all feel about that. I hope we're not talking to any and offending anyone. If you are a pick me, let me know how you feel about today's topic. So, tell me, baby, have you heard the likes of a pick me?
Yes, I have seen what you just described on some social media posts. And it becomes like when the man makes the post, or generally it's a man that probably is going to make the post, and then a woman gets on there and agrees with the man because she wants to get the attention of the man or the men who's reading the post to let the men know that she's available and she 100% agrees with them. And so, I've seen it kind of circulating. And then I've also seen on some of the posts where some other women will disagree. With
and call out that pick-me-ism. Oh,
are we coming up with terms? Oh wow!
I don't know. I'm not an actively aggressive person, but I will hit a little passive aggression on some of those posts sometimes because there's a reason that I have an issue. Like, I generally don't really judge people for being whoever it is that they want to be, but for one, I feel like they're compromising the standards of women in general, making it difficult. I already feel like in our society and in our culture in particular, the standards for women are lessening. They're just going down, down, down. And the standards for men that we hold men to, like they're non-existent. And men see this. The man, you may change every piece of furniture in your house and the man may not notice. But one thing a man is going to pick up on is desperation. It's thinking, They can smell it like a bloodhound. They understand that, and they know who they can take advantage of. And these pick-me's are kind of like throwing off the curve here, because as long as a man is like, well, I know it's people, women out here who will do this. There's women out here who, they'll let me drop them off at work and take their car, and then I can go home and play video games all day and go run red lights and rack tickets up in their name, and they go pay the tickets off and continue to work and feed me. And it's like, no, we can't have too many. Y'all are messing up the pool of women, and y'all are really messing up the pool of men, because they're starting to think that this is okay. You can't imagine how many men out there who are operating this way.
Yeah.
And then the ones who aren't, they really only want the cream of the crop type women. They're not even staying with women who are attractive wise, like in their league, because if they got their stuff together, these men can just pursue women that's 10s. They could be 6s and 7s. But they're like, hey, I got my stuff together. I'm not Jerome laying on your couch. So they feel like they can pursue, way outside of their lane. And it's just messing up this pool. It's messing it up really bad.
Okay.
So that's my issue with pick me's. And then they turn other women into pick me's. It's like contagious a little bit. Just by chance. Because what we're seeing is that our pool of men is small.
Yes.
So there's a small amount of women, so to speak, competing for, there's a large amount of women, Lord have mercy. There's a large amount of women competing for this small amount of men, and so they have to lower and lower and lower their standards. And as long as we have these pick-me's just really blowing it out of the water, those standards just keep going down.
Well, you know what I say? I say if a man is happy with a pick-me, I say let him go and let him experience that to the fullness thereof. I say let him have his pick-me. And see what that gets him in the long term. But I do feel that a man is going to do whatever a man can do, as long as he can get away with it. As long as he's not being held accountable for anything, then if it's a pick-me, if it's not a pick-me, or whatever the case may be, if it's not someone really stretching that man to be better than what he is, then all bets are off. He will be Jerome on the couch. He will be whatever, letting the woman lead him. He will be letting the woman propose to him and all of those different type of things. Because a man, first and foremost, he really should lead. First and foremost, he should be the head. First and foremost, he should be the one kind of taking the reins and saying, hey, baby, this is where I think we should go, and this is what I think, and this is what I feel about it, and all of those different type of things. And yes, I do want to step into a leadership position in our household, and yes, I do want my kids to respect me, and yes, I do want to help rear these kids and all of those different type of things. But 9 times out of 10, a man is never going to walk into that type of responsibility if he's with a pick-me.
But he's going to choose. See, and that's the problem. That's the very problem that we're dealing with. I think, unfortunately, men who are like you, who are what you just described, are a rarity. I think largely we have a big pool of men who are choosing the path of least resistance.
Yes.
Those are pick-me's. Y'all are the path of least resistance. You're not requiring very much of them. And so it's throwing off the curve. Just like if you remember when you were in school, if everybody was scoring mediocre scores on a test, and then you had one nerd that may or may not have been me, scoring out of the park scores, it was messing up the curve. So now the teacher couldn't say, well, everybody did bad, so I'm going to just adjust and make an A be what would have ordinarily been a C. That's what pick-me's are doing. They're throwing off the curve. They're making it so that other women can't require. Well, we can, but we have to understand that if we require a lot, it may take us a very, very long time to meet a quality man, a man who thinks that he has to step up into all those roles that you just said.
Yeah.
Because he knows, just like you're no different. You're aware that you could have chosen a pick-me.
Yeah.
And that would have been a path of least resistance. But fortunately, I think your spirituality carried you beyond wanting something like that.
Yeah.
Everybody doesn't have that. Yeah. And so here we are, all these women, like, man, what do I have to accept? Like, what's the least of the evils here for me to deal with? Do I deal with Jerome on the couch, or do I deal with Tyrone that's cheating? You know, I got to deal with something, and it's kind of terrible. I got to choose, you know, what monster I'm going to deal with. And that's very unfortunate. And I feel like the only way that we can overcome it, especially since there's a surplus of women, you know, compared to men, is if we all kind of collectively raise our standards. If none of us are really, or at least very, very few of us are at that pick me status. Because I see women all the time, every day, who I would ordinarily say, they're not going to be pick me's. You've seen this too. But they're doing pick me-ish things. You know, they're getting pick me tendencies because...
You are wearing these terms out today. Okay.
They get pick me tendencies because they feel like they have to. They don't want to be with a man who, you know, isn't working, or they don't want to be with a man who has a whole bunch of baggage and is dragging it into their situation. They don't want to be with a man whose credit they have to repair, or, you know, anything like, I mean, I could go on and on and on. I'm just trying to make small examples, things that you guys might have relate to. But they're going to pick this man because they're like, well, it's either him or I got to deal with, you know, X, Y, and Z. That's so much worse because the pool of men is just getting poorer and poorer and poorer because they know that they don't have to meet any standards.
Exactly. And so it's just a downward spiral is basically what's happening.
We're going straight into the toilet.
And unfortunately, it's like the man never ever becomes what God intended for him to be, because you're fooling around with subpar people who don't hold you accountable for anything. Yeah. And that's the sad part about it.
Yeah. And the only thing we can honestly do, ladies, those of us who are not pick-me's, who really have standards that we're not really willing to waver on, is stand firm. Be patient. Be faithful to what it is that you want. Prayerful, because you're going to need some divine intervention in today's society to find what it is that you're looking for. But if you don't want to settle for less, this is going to sound very simplistic, but I honest to God, I mean, if you don't want to settle for less, don't settle for less. Just don't even start in that cycle. Don't even start let this man take you to work in your own car. Don't just, no, don't even begin, because it's not going to end. And as soon as you start to put up resistance after you've already accepted something like that, he's going to be like, well, you was doing it before, or Suzanne down the street is going to let me do it.
We got a running joke about Suzanne. But anyway. Yeah, but I thought you were going to talk about side pieces as well.
Side pieces, I guess that's kind of an offshoot to, do we have time? I'll try to make it really quick about side pieces, because I feel like they also compromise relationships. There's, we were just talking about this, where a side piece is somebody. Of course, sometimes people are side pieces and they don't really know it. I'm not talking about that. You know, when they get played, you get played, you get played. It's unfortunate. Shame on him. He shouldn't have done that to you. But a side piece that knows she's a side piece, is proud that she's a side piece, that's like almost hostile toward the main piece, quote unquote. I don't even like to label people like this. But this is another person who is just as bad, if not worse, than a pick-me, because they're giving this man carte blanche to do whatever he wants to do, understanding she's going to keep his secret. She's not demanding anything of him. This is a proud side piece that I'm talking about. One that's like, his wife don't even know that, you know, I can have him anytime I want him. Whenever I call up, you know, his number, he's going to be available. He's going to make a way and hook up with me. You know, that is so detrimental. I know there's kind of a shortage of men, but get your own man. You deserve your own man. You deserve fidelity. Yeah. You know, being a side piece, it may be a temporary boost to your ego because you feel like you can come in between someone's relationship. But what is it getting you in the end? He's not going to leave this person for you, most likely. And I'll tell you what's funny, and I can laugh because shame on you. If he does leave this person for you, you can best believe he's going to do the same thing to you, and you're not going to be comfortable. And karma is something else. So if you find your own man and you were taking pleasure in cheating with someone else's, understand that karma might very well be coming for you as well.
Yeah.
So that's my issue with side pieces. That's my issue with pick me's. Sometimes they're one and the same. Like, just don't let it be you. You know, people deserve to have their relationships free and clear of the extra drama. You deserve that for yourself. And you deserve to have standards.
Yes.
You don't have to feel like you have to accept a man cheating on you. I've heard so many women say, well, a man is going to be a man. He's going to cheat. Like, I just, you know, as long as he respects me enough not to bring nothing home to me, like a disease or a child or something like that.
Yeah.
That's not having standards. That's not something that you would aspire to. Aspire to have a man that has the fear of God in him and understands that cheating is a sin. And he doesn't want to compromise his soul in that way.
Yeah.
That, I mean, and I hate to get over preachy, so I leave that over preachy to my husband. So I'm not even going to go down that path. But honestly, you know, if you want things good to come to you, keep your standards high. Certainly don't be a side piece. Certainly don't willfully be a pick me. Just be who you are. Understand that it's okay to stand firm on that and be single for a while until you get exactly what it is that you want and you deserve.
I couldn't have said it better myself. I think whether the side piece is happy being a side piece or unhappy being a side piece, it's irrelevant, to be honest with you. I look at it as the wife is number one and you are number two. And guess what? Number twos very seldom, if almost never, become number ones. And to be satisfied, and settle with being a number two, ooh, what is that saying about you? I mean, really, at the end of the day, you should want to be the number one. You deserve to be the number one in your relationship. You really do. And so go for that. Be the number one, because again, number twos seldom to never become the number one. And that's just the reality of it is. I've been around a while now, and I have in my lifetime, I have never seen a number two become number one.
Yeah.
Ever.
I can see that. And I don't want to take too much more time, but I'll ask you this just to follow up on what you just said. Is that because you feel like you already don't respect the number two as a man? That's what I would think. That's my knee-jerk reaction, is that if this person knows that they're number two, you know that they know that they're number two.
Yes.
It feels like why would I respect you? Because you were okay with number two status.
And you were okay with number two status, and so why would I ever elevate you to number one? You know, you set your price, you set your value, your worth value to that man when you settle for that. And so he more than likely
you were on clearance.
Yeah. You're like, no, you can't bump up your value now. You know, I've been, hey, you know, you've been number two all of this time. No, it just doesn't happen that way. You know, and so we were talking about respect in our last video. The respect level to be a number one has to be up there at number one status in order for you to get that. You know, but if you settle for number two, number three, or whatever, you're never gonna get there. It's the ground that you got to make up. It'll never happen.
Yeah, not with him.
No.
So, all right. Well, let us know what you think. Like I said before, if you know a side piece, if you were a side piece, hopefully you're a recovering side piece. Let us know your thoughts on pick me's. That's like my favorite term to hate right now. And my husband always laughs at me talking about it. And literally every time I say it. But anyway, please leave us some comments below. Like, subscribe, share, so we can do some more content like this. And let us know what else you'd like to hear about. Thanks, guys.